Hello, today's lesson is Chapter 8, Lesson 4, Multiple Representations of Functions. So in this lesson, you need to be able to take a graph and work backwards. So we've been given a function table or an equation and then graphed. Well, now we need to work backwards and read a graph and then create that function table in order to get the equation. So in order to work backwards, you're going to need to know the input and the output. Well, by looking at this graph, I would need to know where to find that. And so the part that you need to know is that the input is down here because it's the x's. And the output is this vertical line because it is the y's. So when we're working backwards, keep that in mind that those are the inputs on the horizontal x-axis and the output is on the vertical axis, which is the y's. So we need to represent functions using words and equations. So the words, a runner's distance in a marathon is equal to 8 miles per hour times the number of hours. So they're giving us this problem and we need to turn the words into an equation. So a runner's distance in a marathon is equal, so distance is equal to 8 miles per hour. So 8 miles per hour times, we know what times is multiply, the number of hours. So T could be time. Distance equals rate times time. So this is our distance. The rate is 8 miles per hour, and our time is the number of hours. So T would equal the number of hours. Okay, so you see how we broke that down? The distance is equal, so we do D equals 8 times number of hours. Here are some sample problems where we need to write an equation. So the first one up here. The drama club is holding a bake sale. They are charging $5 for each pie they sell. So that's probably important. $5 for each pie. Write an equation to find the total amount earned, T, for selling P pies. So T equals total. This is important to write down what your variables mean, especially when they just give you it. P equals pies. Okay, I need to write an equation to find the total amount earned for selling a certain amount of pies. Well, we know that $5 is the cost for every pie. So if I have 6 pies, I would do 5 times 6. If I had 1 pie, I would do 5 times 1. But I don't know how many pies, so I'm going to put a P to stand for pies. So 5P would give me the total amount earned, the total cost. Okay? Our second one, in a science report, Maya finds that the average adult breathes 14 times each minute when not active. Write an equation to find the total breaths B, a non-active person takes in n minutes. So B equals breaths and M equals minutes. Well, I know that you do it 14 times each minute. So depending on how many minutes, it could be 10 minutes. So 14 times 10, I could have 1 minute, 14 times 1, but I don't know, so I put an M. And that would equal the total amount of breaths. And that would be my equation. So I took it from a word problem and I turned it into an equation. And remember, an equation always has that equals sign in it. Some more practice problems. Letter A mouse can travel 8 miles per hour. Write an equation to find the total distance, D. A mouse can travel in H hours. So D equals distance and h equals hours. Well, it's 8 miles per hour, so 8h equals the distance. Okay, now I'm going to do letter B. Samantha can make 36 cookies each hour. Write an equation to find the total number of cookies, C, that she can make in h hours. So h equals hours again. C equals total cookies. So 36 each hour, so 36 times h, because it's 36 every hour, equals the total amount of cookies. So pretty basic. Just make sure it's an equation, so you have the equal sign, and you're using the words to help you create that. Here's just an example that they have for us when we need to represent a function using tables and graphs. So before we put it into an equation, well, now we need to do a table and a graph. So the student council is holding a car wash to raise money. They are charging $7 for every car they wash. Write an equation to make a function table to show the relationship between the number of cars washed, which is cars washed equals C, and the total amount earned, T, total. Okay, well, if I can do $7 for each car, that would be 7C equals the total. So that's kind of like my rule, okay, which they did right here. Using the assigned variables, the total earned T equals $7 times the number of cars C washed C. So that would be our equation. The total earned is the output, and the total number of cars would be the input. Okay? And then you would figure out the different amount of cars. So if there was 1 car washed, it'd be $7. 2 cars washed, $14, etc. So basically what we've been doing this whole chapter. While in normal flight, a bald eagle flies at an average speed of 30 miles per hour. Write an equation and make a function table to show the relationship between the total distance, D equals distance, and h equals hours. Okay, I know it's 30 miles per hour, so 30 miles every hour would give me the distance. Remember, this is kind of like my rule. So if I went 0 hours, I would go 0 miles. If an eagle flew for 1 hour, it would go 30 miles. 2 hours, it would go 60 miles. Okay, so I wrote my equation down here. I have an equal sign. I did that. And then I made a function table over here. Okay, this is going to be my x, and this is going to be my y for graphing. So I have 0, 0. I have 130, and I have 260. Now you might have asked, how did I know that it was x and y? Well, look, number of hours, and then down here, hours, and that's by my x. Distance, here's my distance and my y. So that's how I know. You need to look at the table and the graph to make sure that your x's match up with your x's and your y's match up with your y's. And then I'm going to create my line and add my zeros. Not my zeros, my arrows. All right, and that's all I have.